Chapter 4. Returning Home. Wu and Ji burst into their small wooden home, their faces flushed with excitement. The faint smell of herbs and broth filled the air, wrapping around them like a familiar embrace. Their mother, Xing Xing, stood by the hearth, stirring a pot with practiced ease, the rhythmic motion of the wooden spoons steady and calming. The soft crackling of the fire beneath the pot was the only other sound in the room, until the boys arrived. "Mom, we're back!" Wu called, his voice brimming with energy, almost out of breath from running. Xing Xing turned, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. Her eyes, warm but sharp, flickered toward them with the faintest glimmer of relief. "You're late," she said, though her tone carried more warmth than scolding. "I thought the two of you had wandered off again." Ji took a step forward, shaking his head as he tried to catch his breath. "We couldn't leave," he blurted. "Mom, you wouldn't believe what we saw. Master Han and Master Zuo, they were incredible." Wu jumped in, eyes wide with excitement. "Master Zuo's flames were real, Mom. Not just tricks or stories. I saw it. He swung his sword and fire followed. It was like a dragon made of flames." He raised his arms, mimicking the arc of the sword swing, as if he were reliving the moment. "But Master Han—" Ji's voice dropped slightly, almost in awe. "He didn't even need to touch him. He just— whoosh!" He spread his arms dramatically. "He sent Master Zuo flying, like the wind itself carried him. It was like something out of the old legends." Xing Xing watched them, a soft smile tugging at the corners of her lips. She turned back to the pot, stirring slowly, letting their words settle in the air like falling leaves. "You sound like little sparrows," she mused, a quiet chuckle beneath her breath, "chirping about heroes." She tapped the spoon gently against the rim of the pot before setting it aside. Turning fully to them now, she folded her arms. "Did you enjoy yourselves?" "It was amazing," Ji exclaimed, nearly bouncing on his heels. "We want to learn martial arts now, Mom. Real techniques, like the masters." Her smile lingered, but something in her expression changed, just slightly. A flicker of thought passed behind her eyes, but she quickly masked it with her usual warmth. "Becoming a master," she said gently, "takes more than watching a match, my little sparrows. It takes discipline, patience, years of dedication." She paused, then added lightly, "Finish your supper before you start dreaming too big." But Wu shook his head, stepping forward with quiet determination. "We're not dreaming, Mom." His voice was softer now but firm. "We'll prove it to you." Xing Xing studied him for a long moment. His little fists were clenched, his shoulders squared. He meant it. They both did. She exhaled softly and turned back to the hearth, ladling steaming broth into wooden bowls. "Then you'd best start by eating," she said, setting the bowls on the table. "Training takes strength." The boys exchanged a grin before eagerly taking their seats. The simple meal before them, rice, vegetables, and a savory broth, was familiar and comforting. The warmth of the food spread through their hands as they picked up their bowls. Ji took a quick sip and nearly burned his tongue. He let out a sharp breath. "Hot!" Wu laughed. "You always rush, Ji." "Because I'm hungry," he shot back before carefully blowing on his next spoonful. Xing Xing watched them with a small smile as she sat down across from them. The soft clinking of their wooden spoons filled the air. For a while, the only sounds were the quiet hum of the fire, the occasional rustle of clothes as they shifted in their seats, and the rhythmic tapping of spoons against bowls. But despite their usual liveliness, the boys' excitement hadn't faded. Every few bites, they would exchange glances, barely able to contain their thoughts. Finally, Wu spoke up. "Mom, do you think Master Han was born strong, or did he have to work for it?" Xing Xing paused, considering. "No one is born a master," she said. "Not even Master Han. Every warrior starts somewhere, usually with bruises, failures, and years of training." "So we can do it," Ji said, his eyes lighting up. She chuckled softly. "Eat first, then worry about training." The boys hurriedly finished their meal, slurping the last of the broth before setting their bowls down with a satisfied sigh. Ji stretched. "That was good." Wu was already halfway to the door. "Come on, before it gets too dark." Ji scrambled after him. "Wait for me." Xing barely had time to remind them to be careful before they were gone, their laughter echoing behind them. She sighed, shaking her head as she gathered the empty bowls. "And just like your father," she murmured. She glanced toward the doorway, where the last traces of their energy still lingered. Then with a quiet smile, she turned back to her work, the warmth of the fire flickering gently in the dimly lit home.